What is going on, everyone? Nico Lind here, and today we're here with yet another boat review. Last week we did the Albury 23, and this week we're on another awesome little boat. It's a 2023 Reef Runner 23. Super awesome little boat. And so y'all are gonna like this one. I'm looking forward to it. Let's roll the intro and get on into the review. Before we start, I do want to mention that if you do like these videos, if you like the boat reviews, if you like any of the Bahamas stuff I do on this channel, it's a huge help to me if you hit the subscribe button down below, like the video, comment down what you want to see, whether it be another boat review, what boat you want to see reviewed, anything really. I make these videos for you guys, and so all of that stuff lets me know that you guys like the videos I'm making and the content that I'm posting. So subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the review. So Reef Runner is a fairly new builder in the world of boat building. Donna, she is the owner of Reef Runner, and she builds these boats with her family down in Miami, and they have an extremely nice operation going on. I don't know Donna personally, but my uncle, who actually owns this boat that I'm on right now, he custom built this boat with Donna and is actually in the process of building his second boat with her. He's moving up to the 28 footer, and he has had nothing but positive things to say about the boats themselves, Donna, the customer service, the whole atmosphere when you're at the factory talking to the workers and everything. Everything I hear is, you know, that they're a stand-up operation that really knows what they're doing, and they really put a lot of love into these boats that they're building. But right now, you know, like I said, they offer the 23, the 28, and the 34. This is obviously the 23, and this is actually, the hull of this boat is actually based off of the old 20 Bertram hull, which is, in my opinion, a fantastic thing. That is a hull that is renowned for its ride quality, its efficiency, and its performance. And so this boat is already starting in an extremely good place with that hull design. And so all Reef Runner really had to do was build a high quality, usable topsides to make this a total package, and they completely knocked it out of the park with this boat. It is an extremely nice boat. It rides well, it's extremely well built, and you know, it's what a big boat owner who's used to big boat qualities like a Bahama and a Valhalla and a Seavey, any of the people who own those boats and are used to that level of quality and customer service and performance would love one of these boats. And that's kind of the market that they're aiming for. They're aiming for that higher end center console market because they're built quite a bit better than a lot of the other production boats out there. You know, they're more of a semi-custom boat to start with. They will customize these boats to a very high degree. And so, as I mentioned, my uncle owns this boat. And if you've watched the channel, you know that as a family, we also have the Bahama 41 and the 23 Albury. And the common denominator with both of those boats are that they're extremely well built. They come from builders who are extremely easy to work with. They're extremely well respected and will customize the boats to a very high degree to exactly what the client wants. And this boat falls perfectly in line with that. You know, my uncle, he's been around boats for his entire life. My grandparents, when they moved to Melbourne, Florida, they immediately bought a boat and have just turned into giant yachtsmen since, you know, the 60s. And so he's grown up in it, my mom's grown up in it, in turn, me and my cousins, we've all grown up in the boating world. And so we have, as a family, we have an insane amount of experience. We know exactly what we want. We know exactly what we don't want. We know how things are gonna work on a boat. And so he did a lot of research when he was looking for what little boat he wanted to build and landed on Reef Runner because it fit that same mold that our family is used to. As a company, Reef Runner builds a very high-end boat, and they're willing to build the boat exactly how the customer wants, exactly how my uncle wants the boat. And the boat's a flat-out performer. You know, we have a place in the Bahamas, as you guys can see, and so this boat's gonna make crossings from Melbourne to the Bahamas. And so it had to be a capable boat that would stand up to, you know, the beating that crossings put on a boat. And this 23 Reef Runner hit all of those points. And so if you can't tell already, I am a very big fan of these boats. And the reasoning behind it is, in this small 20-foot class, there's a lot of, you know, high production, high volume boats, you know, the Sea Hunts, the Cobias, the Tidewaters, all that sort of stuff. And some of those boats are very good boats. They definitely have their place, but you know, the high production boats that you go to a dealership and you buy. They don't have a very high level of customizability. And while the build quality is good, it's not great. And so Reef Runner is basically filling the void in that small, you know, 20-foot marketplace and building extremely high quality boats to a very high level of customization. And that's a quick example of that. And I'm not going to go into the details in this video of 2- and 3-piece construction, but you know, Reef Runner will build these boats as 3-piece construction boats. As you can see, you know, you have all your space under the gunnels. And without getting into it, basically, a 2-piece construction boat, it's cheaper to make, it takes less labor, it's easier to make. Whereas a 3-piece construction boat like this, it takes a little more money, it takes a little bit more time, takes a little bit more skilled labor. But in my opinion, and in the opinion of many, it makes for a much stronger boat, a much more high quality boat that gives you a lot more on-deck space for a given size range. And that's because with a 2-piece boat, you lose all of this under gunnel space going back. You lose all of that. And if anyone who watches this video is a fisherman, you know that is indispensable when you're fighting a fish, to be able to tuck your feet up under the gunnel, lock your knees in, and really fight the fish that way. And you know, there are a lot of 2-piece builders who, like in the cockpit back there, you know, under the gunnels here, they're put a little insert that's kind of recessed in there so that you can put rods, so that it's rod storage, and you have a little cubby place to lock your feet in under there. But it's just not the same. In my opinion, it looks a little bit busy because I'm a big, you know, I don't want to say I'm snobby when it comes to boats, but I know exactly what I want and what I like, and I like very cleanly rigged boats, and that is that. And there is just something so clean about a 3-piece boat where everything is, all the fiberglass is completely flat. You know, you don't see any caulking, you don't see any screws, you don't see any of that stuff. I hate seeing, you know, screws, you know, or caulking where you have inserts on the top of the rub rail, or, you know, under here. And so Reef Runner goes the extra mile and builds this boat as a 3-piece boat, and they're willing to do pretty much whatever you want to the boat. Now, I do need to address, I believe this boat, when it was designed to be a 2-piece construction boat. And I know the first couple they built were 2-piece. I know center consoles only, they added one which was 2-piece, but I believe they'll build them any way you want it, 2-piece, 3-piece. And you know, the moral of the story is they have the molds to make it a 3-piece construction boat. They spent the money on the molds. They're willing to spend the extra money on labor, which is huge. It says a lot about them as a company, and you know, the level of customizability they're willing to offer to a customer. And it's just really refreshing because, you know, as I mentioned, the small 20-foot class, the margins on these boats is not crazy high, so most of the builders out there are not willing to go the extra mile and dig into their margins to put out a top quality product. Reef Runner, the complete opposite. They put out a top quality product in this low 20-foot class, which is, in my opinion, you know, not really matched by pretty much anyone but a couple builders. There are a couple high quality builders in this class, and there are even a couple of high quality builders who will build a 2-piece boat, but the vast majority of these boats are, you know, high volume, high production boats meant for the masses, where you go to a dealership, you buy it on the spot, and that's that. You get what you get. This is not that. All right, and so that's a little bit about the boat. And so before we get into sea trialing it and me giving you performance numbers and my thoughts on how this boat performs, let me give you a quick tour of the boat. So we're gonna start up in the bow. The owner of this boat, my uncle, he opted for a big old Rodan trolling motor because they do a lot of bottom fishing, and so this is indispensable in bottom fishing. It can just hold you right over your bottom spot, so you don't have to set up drifts anymore and do any of that. So he got the trolling motor, 2 pop-up cleats in the front, you know, big old anchor locker with room for your lines in here. Down here, you also have more access to your anchor rod, which again, that's huge. That's just a little custom, you know, not custom touch, but a little high quality touch. Most of these production boats don't match because it's added cost to add that. Really nice that they add that. 2 JL speakers up here, big open deck with no seating whatsoever. Again, I mentioned my uncle fishes a lot, and so having the open bow was huge for him. So he has, you know, all the fishing space, and there's not a bunch of forward seating getting in the way that you have to crawl over. And then also forward seating adds a lot of weight to boats, and he didn't want that weight. And so no forward seating, which is the perfect way to build this boat in my opinion. Here we have big ol' index storage that's gasketed with a gas strut here. I have my backpack in here, some fenders, there's a stern anchor in there. Very, very large compartment for a 23-foot boat. Moving back, we have our seating in the front of the console. As you can see, all of the upholstery on this boat is diamond stitch, white on white, and they'll do it however you want, and this is just how my uncle wanted to option this boat. Moving back, you have a JL speaker on either side, which I love this thing I'm about to show y'all, but instead of putting a pop-up cleat up on the gunnels, they mounted the cleats down below with a hose pipe on the top, which I am a giant proponent of because, again, I don't want to come across as sounding snobby about my boats, but I know exactly what I want on boats, and I'm very, very picky with what I want on boats. And this just looks a whole lot cleaner when you have lines going down to a hose pipe underneath. So big fan of that. You know, JL speakers on either side, like I mentioned. Your fuel fill is right here on the starboard side. So moving back, we're gonna hit the console. The owner of this boat opted to Line-X all of their pipe work, which I personally think is if you don't want the exposed aluminum look, I think the Line-X is the best thing there is out there, period. You know, powder coating looks good, looks shiny, looks smooth when it's new, but powder coating is inevitably down the road gonna start chipping and bubbling up and blistering, and paint does the same as well, and it's very hard to repair. Whereas this Line-X coating, you know, it's essentially the same stuff that goes in the bed of your truck. If you get a Line-X coating back there, the grain in this is a lot smaller, so it's a little bit more smooth, but it's tough and it's durable and it'll stand up to the test of time. And should there be an area that gets messed up, I believe with the Line-X, you can just sand it down and respray that area and it'll match perfectly. Whereas if it's powder coated, you have to take off the entire T-top and re-powder coat your metalwork. It's a whole ordeal. Line-X is the right choice. I like this aspect as well. You have, you know, completely closed in helm here, gets you out of the wind a little bit. Up top, you have an electronics box. My drone bag is up there, ignore that. But this owner opted for 2 VHF radios, which, as I mentioned, our family is pretty picky with what they want on boats, and 2 VHF radios, every one of our boats has it except for the Albury. It's fantastic. And again, as a custom builder, you know, they'll do whatever you want up here. This is what this owner wanted. You know, 2 Garmin screens, your Fusion radio, your Mercury display, kill switch, wheel, throttle, trim tabs, all of your breakers, 12-volt outlet, and then also 2 USB ports for charging and 2 cup holders, a Norma empty water bottle. And so clean display, very clean helm. And something that's nice too is they put 2 feet recessed little chocks for your feet. So if you're sitting here at the helm, you can put your feet in the top one. And then if you're standing and just leaning against this, your feet lock in nicely on the one below. Just a nice little added touch that a lot of builders don't do. Leaning post, again, you have that same white on white diamond stitch upholstery. Under the helm seat, it's just a little storage area. It's a little bit shallow, but that's not just an oversight on design. That's because, again, this owner opted for a very large circular live well down here. So it goes all the way up under. And for those of y'all who don't know, it's nice that Reef Runner builds a proper circular live well. Circular live well keeps your bait alive so much more. If the, you know, squares where a fish can get caught in the corner and just swim itself into the corner, that kills your bait. And a circular live well, your fish just keeps swimming in circles and circles, and it's much better for your bait. So really, really nice they do a proper live well. And then moving aft, we have a big, basically transom seat that spans the entire aft of the boat. I could be wrong, but I believe that was a custom touch this owner, my uncle, did on this boat. But again, Reef Runner is willing to accommodate pretty much any reasonable request. So this is just what this owner did. And the back, you have 2 little storage compartments here. And on this boat, those are just storage compartments, but you can get those rigged up as release wells or any of that stuff too. On the boat, a Mercury 300 V8, awesome power package for this boat. And after we finish this, we're gonna do a sea trial and y'all will see exactly what I mean. Very efficient, it pushes the boat well. And something that I really like is your Euro bracket back here is completely flush. There's no splash well or anything. So you can walk around this thing, no problem whatsoever. And then on either side, you have your recessed cleats, or pop-up cleats, should I say. And something I forgot to mention is back here in the cockpit, you have fish boxes on either side, chamois on this side. You have another fish box there. And then let me get down here. Along the inside of the transom here, you have these storage compartments back here. Well, not storage compartments, but hatches. And so what those are, it's access to all of your rigging. Here, let me get the camera. There you go. I don't know how much y'all can see, but for one, you can see how cleanly rigged and the build quality of these boats is through the roof. And it's also really nice that Reef Runner goes the length to give you access to the entire back of the boat and give you access to all the rigging and all the lights. I mean, even our 41 Bahama can get a little bit tight getting to all this stuff back here. This has better access back there than the 41 Bahama, which says something. Really, really awesome. And so let me put that back. Let me open the bilge here real quick. And so again, the bilge really highlights the level of care that goes into these boats. There's a little bit of water in it, but that's all right. Super, super clean. The rigging is clean. Everything's where it should be. Just built properly. They do a good job with these boats. The last part of this walkthrough I want to touch on is the inside of the console. And so let's hop in there, open this door. And it's a little bit packed in there because we have my life jackets. This is my, big Sony camera and some other stuff in there. But let me get down here. Look at this rigging. This rigging is the best I've seen on a boat of this level. The best I've seen on a lower 23-foot boat. It is extremely clean, organized. Everything is labeled, You have your JL amps there. That's your subwoofer for your sound system, battery charger. And this boat also has a big lithium iron phosphate battery that back there that powers the trolling motor. Here's your battery bank for the boat. It uses high-end Odyssey batteries. Here's a little custom storage compartment for your boarding ladder. Just an impressive operation. Like, look up here. That's your NEMA 2000 backbone. If you ever want to add more stuff to the boat, look how much room you have to extend it. It's nicely done up there. Man, this is an impressive boat under here. I'm telling you, if this level of rigging doesn't, excite you, I don't know what will if you're a boater. Like, look at this. Even on your giant block down here, I don't know if you can see, look behind it. Every single one of them has a label on what it goes to. Which, again, if you own, the super high-end big center consoles, the Bahamas, CVs, Valhallas, that kind of stuff, you're used to that. On these small boats, none of the other production builders are doing it to this level. So props to you, Reef Runner. You are doing an amazing job on this boat. Oh, and something I forgot to mention to show y'all is the T-top stuff. So this owner actually went with the Gemlux Deluxe outrigger bases. Gemlux makes the best outrigger bases in the industry, in my opinion. He even put these little reels here. This, this flips out and turns, and that is for your antennas. So there's no more going up top and loosening the base for the antennas and dropping them. You can just lower and raise both of your VHF antennas from down here. Spreader light looking forward. Same thing on this side. 2 spreader lights aft, 2 LED down-facing lights, 2 speakers, and then he even put a little Garmin Phantom dome radar on the boat. And let me mention this as well. Let me get to the front without falling. Standing up here, a big old black oak light bar. And so, he rigged this boat out properly, how one of these should be done. And again, I think this boat is a testament to, the quality of these Reef Runner boats. It's awesome, but I've talked enough. I think you guys want to see a sea trial. So let's get this boat on plane. And now it's probably going to be a little bit too loud for me to talk to you guys through the camera, but I'm going to try my hardest. If it is too loud, I'm just going to voice over it later, but let's get some running footage and show you how she runs. All right, so we're at the helm of the boat now. let's go ahead and get going. And I think it's a little bit hard for me to drive while holding the camera and do the wheel and the throttle. So have it on autopilot. I'm gonna push the throttle and I'm gonna do my best to continue filming and talking to you guys, to walk you through what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing and the whole 9 yards. So let's get going. Push the throttle down. So off the bat, I was not using any tabs at all to get it up on plane, and there was a little bit of bow rise, but nothing out of the ordinary. That's just kind of a, I guess, a side effect of a boat with this hull design that's designed to get up out of the water and run. You know, when I get home, I'll take a video of it on the lift and show you guys the hull. There's a lot of lifting strakes, which the design of those pushes the boat up out of the water, so there's less resistance. And that's the side effect of that, is a little bit more bow rise than a boat that's not designed to get up and right on top of the water. But not a knock towards the boat. It's nothing out of the normal. It's perfectly in line. So we're cruising along here. Let me give it a little bit of trim, see where we end up here. So I'm gonna go on this Mercury display. We'll go plus 11. You can see here, we're at 3,600 RPM, doing 31 miles per hour, and we are in a following sea, but we're sitting here doing 3.8, 3.75, 3.7, between 3.7 and 3.8 statute miles per gallon. Granted, we are going with the wind. You can see we're going with the wind, but still, that economy is phenomenal on this boat. Absolutely phenomenal. 30 miles per hour, 3.7 statute miles per gallon. And I don't want to compare boats in this video. I might make a comparison video later on, but last week I did the review on the Albury. This is a more efficient boat than the Albury, definitely. And that's not surprising. The Albury hull design is made to run with a lot of hull in the water and kind of, you know, float your way through the waves, whereas this boat's made to get up on top of the water and run with not a lot of hull in the water. So naturally, this boat's going to have a lot less drag in the water, which equates to higher performance. But we're sitting here running comfortably. You guys at 30 miles per hour, 3.7 to 3.8 statute miles per gallon. It's all you can ask for, and it's not very windy today. You know, you can see the chops, not horrible, but you can see there's very little bow movement whatsoever. The boat is just eating up this little following sea, eating it up. I'm impressed so far. Let's put it, I'm gonna turn autopilot off now. I'm gonna put it into, actually, before we do that, autopilot back on, let's go get some performance data running all the way up to the RPM range. So let's go up to 4,000 RPM. And along the way, I've mentioned this before, but these performance numbers, they hinge so much on how much trim the captain of the boat has. So I'm just gonna trim this boat so what feels like to me to be a good, where the boat's happy, and then we'll use those performance numbers. So let's get up to 4,000 RPM. So let's kick it up a little bit. So at 4,000 RPM, we're doing 35 miles per hour, still getting 3.35 to 3.6. So at 4,000 RPM, 35 miles per hour, doing 3.5, 3.6 statute miles per gallon. Pretty good. Let's push it up to 4,400 now. So right now we're sitting more at like 4,500 RPM, doing 39 miles per hour, getting 3.3 to somewhere around 3.3, 3.35 statute miles per gallon. Pretty damn good if you ask me. Let's go ahead at 5,000 RPM. So we're just under 5,000 RPM, doing 43 miles per hour, getting 3.1 to 3.2 statute miles per gallon. Again, I'm impressed. That's pretty impressive. So let's go ahead and give it some full throttle and see where we end up. So at full throttle, 6,000 RPM, we're doing 52, 53 miles per hour and getting 2.3 miles per gallon. I'm impressed big time. So from just cruising around this morning, I personally have found that the boat really likes it around like 3,800 RPM, somewhere in that range, doing about 30 to 32 miles per hour, getting, you know, 3.3 to 3.5 miles per gallon. Now I am going against the wind, against the wave, so it's going to be a little bit less efficient doing that. But you know, this 3,800 RPM, the boat really seems to like it. And you can see we're in a head sea now, and the sharp entry of that, you know, Bertram 20 inspired hull just slices through the head sea like it's nothing. Granted, it's not very rough out here right now. It's probably just under a foot chop, but the boat is eating it up like it's nothing, just cruising. So let's throw it into some turns and see how she does. Autopilot off. So putting the boat through a little bit of a handling test and throwing it into some turns at speed and doing all of that sort of stuff. When the boat's put into a turn, the boat just grabs and goes through the turn as you would expect out of any DV boat. I did notice what I think might have been a little bit of hull sliding. I'm not positive, but I think it could have been. Really nothing to write home about. It wasn't anything, you know, out of the ordinary, just something to note. But something that absolutely stuck out to me when doing this is the tight turning radius of this boat. It is outrageous how tight this boat will turn, as you just saw right there. I mean, if you put this thing at speed, hard at lock, it's turning in probably a boat and a half length, maybe 2 boat length. I was extremely impressed. Now, turning it, you know, at speed like that, there was a significant amount of speed loss in the turn, which is expected out of these boats. You know, any boat, I don't care what it is, when you put it into a turn, it's going to lose a little bit of speed. Boats that lose less speed, those boats are the outliers. You know, something like, which you can't compare the boat I'm about to say to this boat, but something like the Bahama 41, where I can put it into a full lock turn at 50 knots and the boat's gonna have pretty minimal loss of speed. That is an absolute outlier, and you cannot judge other boats against that. You know, the far and away standard in the boating world is for a boat to lose speed when putting it into a turn. This one did have, I'm not gonna say significant amount of speed loss, but definitely some speed loss to note. But other than that, this boat's handling characteristics absolutely were outstanding. Everything is predictable. Everything happens softly. You know, when putting it in a turn, going over wake, you know, I never felt any chattering. The boat was never vibrating or making strange noises or creaking or any of that stuff. The boat was extremely solid and just overall really impressed me. Obviously, this was not a very rough day, so it was hard for me to really go out and find some, you know, little bit of rougher chop to put the boat through, but I did my best by putting the boat into a couple hard turns and then running back through my wake. And as I just said, it was a very pleasant, a very predictable experience. And overall, I came away really impressed. You know, very similar to kind of my analysis of this boat and how I think it's a very above average, very high quality boat for this low 20-foot class. Its performance and handling characteristics are just in line with that. This is gonna perform much better than a lot of those lower end production boats, and I am saying that from my own personal experience. I've been on a lot of them, and this beats them. And you can see right there, I just went through that boat wake and had essentially no bow rise whatsoever. That sharp entry just cuts its way through the waves. For a 23-foot boat, it is quite impressive of a ride. Now, between the Albury brothers and this, which one rides better? I'm not quite positive. You know, they both have very, very different rides, as I've kind of talked about already. You know, the Oldbury is designed to run with a lot of hull in the water and kind of float itself through the waves and stay planted, whereas this is, you know, a true deep V hull with a lot of lifting strakes that gets itself up and kind of rides along the top of the water and bounces from wave top to wave top. So is this very different ride characteristics? Does one ride better than the other? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you guys to decide, but overall, very, very pleased with this boat's performance, especially with its handling characteristics. It is quite the little performer. All right, so we just finished the sea trial, and let me start out by saying I am extremely impressed. This is a very capable little 23-foot boat. You know, granted, it's not very rough out. You know, I'm kind of wind protected from the land right there though, but out where I did the sea trial out there, you know, it's a little bit choppy. You know, it's nothing like the ocean's gonna throw up, but it's not flat by any means. And this boat didn't even care, you know, riding in a following sea, riding in a head sea. It just, you know, the bow didn't move. You know, that deep Bertram-inspired bow and hull just slices through whatever it is. Extremely impressed. And another thing that is overlooked in a lot of these boats is weight distribution. The weight distribution on this boat is extremely well done. The attitude of the boat sitting in the water, which I'll play some video right now I got with the drone. The boat's extremely flat, it's extremely pretty, it sits how it should. And then when the boat's up and running, it's an extremely flat running boat, which is awesome. You know, Donna and the Reef Runner team really did a good job with the weight distribution on this boat. I'm impressed. You know, the boat is a deep V. It's a Bertram-inspired hull. And so there are little things that go with that. You know, it's very sensitive to trim tabs and sensitive to trim as a whole. You know, it's easy to get the boat rocking side to side. Like, you know, if you put one tab down, it's gonna lean heavily to that side. If there's a lot of people on one side, it's gonna lean heavily. It's the nature of a DV hull. There's nothing against it. Every single other center console out there is some variation of the same of a DV hull. So this is not specific to this boat. You know, I'm just comparing it to last week's review of the Oldbury. You know, the Oldbury, just as a comparison, you know, that boat is not a very deep V. It's a pretty shallow dead res on that boat actually. But as I mentioned, that boat has a completely different hull design, and that boat's made to run completely different than this. I don't know if you could hear it when I was driving. I was trying to talk to the camera. If it didn't work, I'm just gonna voice over and y'all won't hear what I'm just talking about. But because of this hull design, you know, having a lot of lifting strakes, and those lifting strakes' job is to lift the boat up. You know, that basically as the boat's going through, the water running against those strakes creates pressure and pushes the boat up. And so this boat is made to run, you know, get pushed up and run on top of the water and kind of skip along the waves, that's definitely the single most popular hull design of, you know, center consoles these days. They're all built to do that for the most part, you know, with a couple exceptions, the Oldbury being kind of one of them. And because of that, you know, when you get up on plane, which it does, you know, you get a little bit of bow rise, but it's just part of this whole design. Every center console gets bow rise, some more than others. This one's definitely, I'd say this is middle of the road bow rise. It's definitely not crazy high. It's definitely not low bow rise. It's just average bow rise. But once you get up and going, you know, comparing it to the Oldbury that I reviewed last week, it is a completely different feel. You know, the Oldbury, where I mentioned the Oldbury has its own unique feel where you're going and, you know, the boat's kind of planted in the water and kind of just floats its way through the waves. Whereas this one, when you get up on plane, you feel those lifting strakes lifting the boat up out of the water. Like, this boat feels like it's running a lot lighter on its feet, like it's running a lot higher on the water column. And in terms of that, it does feel like a much more sporty boat, which is awesome. This is a very fun boat to drive. It's very sporty. It feels very sporty. It's very responsive in the turns. Sorry, got cut off there, but like I said, I got a little bit of sliding in the turns, but nothing out of the ordinary. It was extremely responsive, and the turning radius was, oh my God. You up and running at 30 miles per hour, you can throw this thing into a turn, and the turning radius is tiny. It's pretty impressive, actually. It's really impressive, actually. And this boat, like I said, because it gets up and out of the water and runs a lot lighter, it feels a lot more sporty, which a lot of people like. In the center console market, 100% the general trend of the market right now is going to more high performance, sporty feeling boats. And this does that and does it very, very well. It's a fun boat to drive. It's engaging. But at the same time, it is also a boat that you can hit autopilot, sit back in the helm seat and let the hull just go to work. It's not a boat that you absolutely have to actively drive through the waves or else you're gonna, spear a wave. That's not what this boat is, When it wants to be sporty, it's fun to drive. It's very responsive, it's responsive to trim. You can control the attitude of the boat extremely well. If you want the bow up, trim it up. You want the bow down, trim it down. It's very responsive to trim tabs. And again, that's all characteristic of that deep V hull, the really deep V hull. And so with that level of customizability of your ride, where you can tweak every little nuance, this boat it's very sporty and it's very fun. It rides well. I'm kind of going in circles here, but if you can't tell by how I'm talking and the how I sound, I love this boat. It's an awesome boat. This, again, I've said at the beginning of the video, my family's very, very picky when it comes to boats, and so it's no surprise that we got a high quality little 23 footer. My uncle built it, and he likes it, and I like it, and the family likes it. But man, I'm walking away very, very impressed with this boat. Let's talk a little bit about who this boat's for and who it's not for. I did this in the Albury video and it seemed to be a big hit. And so who is this boat not for? So in line with what I talked about at the beginning of this video and how it's a very purpose-built boat with not a lot of bells and whistles and the misters and all that stuff, this is not a boat built, if you just want to, go buy, an affordable boat for you and your family to run to the sandbar and have every little comfortable thing you could ever have, mister, shower in the hardtop, whatever it might be. That's not your boat. This boat's not pretending to be that. This boat does not want to be that. I'm sure knowing or hearing what I hear about Reef Runner from my uncle and everything, if you wanted all that stuff, I'm sure they could figure out a way to do it, but that's not what this boat is. This is a much more purpose boat. So if that's the boat you're looking for that has every little tiny thing, look elsewhere. This is a boat. Who is it for? This boat is for a boater who appreciates quality and who appreciates the little extra, touches here, the three-piece construction, the ride performance, the handling characteristics. This is for someone who really appreciates boating and is going to use their boat and use it hard and wants a 23-foot boat that's going to get them out and get them home safely, regardless of what the conditions throw up. This is that kind of boat. If you're someone who wants to go run out and fish, 50 miles out, this boat can do it no problem at all. I feel I'm not going to name any manufacturers. I'm tempted to, but I'm not going to because I don't want to burn any bridges here. But most of the general high-end production, high-volume boats, those boats, their build quality is average. It's not a boat I want to go beating through the sea, 50 miles one way, 50 miles in, fishing out there, doing 100 and 150 mile days. That's not what I want to do to those boats. Getting beat through a sea swell would, take its toll on those boats pretty quickly. This, not so much. This is a boat that you can run out, fish it every weekend if you want, run it out, and it's going to hold together and hold together fine. One, there's not a lot of stuff on the boat to break. Two, the build quality, the quality of materials, and the thickness of the materials on this boat far surpasses that of the other production 23 footers. And like I said, there are other good 23 foot boat builders out there that are comparable to this. The Albury is one of them. But I'm talking about the vast, volume of the boats out there, the mid-range production builders. Yeah, and so this boat is for someone who appreciates that. And more so, this boat is for someone who really wants to fish hard. It's got 2 fish boxes in the back in the cockpit. There's no forward seating. You can remove that back seat and have the entire deck completely open. You can have that live well in the leaning post. You can also have 2 more live wells in the transom where those boxes are. And so if you want to fish a boat purpose-built for fishing and fish it hard, this boat is perfect for that. And so I'm kind of rambling on now and going in circles, but moral of the story is I really, really like this boat. And I think if anyone's in that 23-foot class boat market, I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice by not giving Reef Runner a look. They're awesome boats. Can't say enough about them. Again, I never paid for this boat. It's not my boat, it's my uncle's boat. I have no allegiance to talk nicely about Reef Runner. I'm just on cloud 9 right now because I really do like the boat and think it's an awesome boat. As I said, I'm very, very picky with boats, very picky, and I know what I want. And this and the Albury are probably 2 of the only 23-foot boats I would ever buy that I think are quality, good products. So that is my thoughts on this boat. I think it's an awesome boat. Again, if you're in the market, look at a 23 Reef Runner. It's a sick boat. But that's gonna do it for this video because it's drawn out long enough. I hope you guys appreciated or liked how I did this review. You know, as I do more of these boat reviews, I'm gonna get better at it, you know, get better at making it a little more interesting for you guys, making it shorter, condensing the material, but I'm slowly getting there, so give it some time. I'm gonna keep more of these reviews coming out, and they're gonna keep getting better. The filming is gonna get better. You know, everything, they're just gonna level up to the next level over time, hopefully. You know, with different drone shots, the pace of the video, the details, all that good stuff. So let me know if you like these review videos, and I'll keep making them of different boats. I think I'm gonna do one of the Bahama 41 next, but all right, enough of that. Again, subscribe to the channel if you like it. Like this video, please, and comment down below what you want to see in the next review or what kind of videos you guys just want to see, period, on this channel. And I will see you guys in the next video, which is another Bahamas video this coming Sunday.